Before we start this week's episode, a word from our sponsor, mfg.com.
Are you an engineer or designer looking for reliable and skilled manufacturers to bring your designs to life? mfg.com, the world's largest online manufacturing marketplace, connects you with over 10,000 suppliers across the globe. Browse the directory or submit a request for quote and receive an average of 4 quotes from U.S. suppliers. MFG provides access to a wide range of manufacturing capabilities, including precision machining, injection molding, and 3D printing, so you can find the right supplier for your specific project needs. Signing up for mfg.com is quick and free and gives you the ability to manufacture your engineering designs efficiently and effectively. So why wait? Sign up for mfg.com today and take your engineering and design projects to the next level. Again, visit mfg.com to sign up today.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Engineering Entrepreneur Podcast, episode 134 today. This is Scott Tarsi, and I run CADdesignhelp.com. Kind of lost my voice, so try to get through this here. Head to my website, sign up for the email list there. Again, CADdesignhelp.com. And when we do, we'll send you a free PDF of the top 4 mistakes inventors make. Check out my online course on how to become an engineering entrepreneur. Leave me a review on iTunes and send me an email for any feedback, info@CADdesignhelp.com. All right, our guest this week is JD Houvener, and he's the founder of Bold Patents, which is a law firm for startups and inventors to get their patents. He also has his own podcast called the Bold Patents Show, which is in its 2nd season. JD, thanks for coming on. I'll go ahead and let you talk here, but I guess let's hear about your background first, and then we'll talk about your company.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a privilege here and to be able to speak to the audience of inventors and entrepreneurs. I started my journey as an engineer. Interestingly enough, worked at Boeing as an aerospace engineer, graduated from the University of Washington, and worked up in Everett, Washington on the 787 and later the 777X. I sort of got big eyes after I went through a business school curriculum. Boeing put me through an MBA curriculum, and at a big company like that, it's easy to get lost, and I certainly did feel that way. And I wanted to find my own way to own my own business, doing something. And I had fallen in love with Shark Tank when it first kicked off, and I still love it. And in that show, they always ask inevitably, "Hey, how are you? What's your competitive advantage? And you have a patent, or is there anything proprietary about this?" And so the word patent kept coming up, and I decided I would at least try it and give it a shot, because in order to sit for the patent bar, you have to have an undergraduate degree in sciences or engineering. I say, I've already got that. Let me give it a shot. And I learned about it and figured out, hey, I can make a career out of this. And hey, if I went to law school, I can start a law firm and make some decent money while I'm at it. And the rest is history. So I left Boeing in 2016, and I've had my own firm for the past, 8-9 years.
Very nice. That's a very good entrepreneurial story. How did you, I guess, start doing it? You have to get some clients. So how did you go about, getting it going off the ground?
Initially, I was as a patent agent. I did some work as a contractor for a patent attorney that I knew here in Washington State, and was doing kind of like this equivalent of copywriting, where I was kind of writing, doing research for him, like an understudy, and he would deliver the work product to his clients. And then eventually, when I was able to get that work product under my belt, got some familiarity, landed my first client. It was actually an older guy on Craigslist way back. This guy.
So how did he reach out to you, or did you put out, or did you see him you saw him on Craigslist asking?
I put an ad out. I mean, whether it was against the rules or not. I mean, this was in 2014. Yeah, I put one out in most major cities. I kind of put this similar type of an ad out. I haven't thought about this in a long time. But yeah, and this older guy, he had already had his current attorney, and he was kind of pissed at him I, of course, came in at a lower rate because it's generally how I think, I don't know if it was the right thing to do, but that's how I decided to get my first few clients, is to get some experience way below market on the money side and work my ass off. Did really good work for him, and he was my first testimonial, and it gave me some, gusto to go after it and try to find my next one.
That's smart. I've been meaning to do some Craigslist ads. They're not that expensive either. You can just, it's like $5 or something.
Yeah.
And I think I've done it before. Almost got work. At least I talked to a few people. So that's a good reminder for me to get on that.
Yeah. 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 Pretty soon, it sort of, got to the point to where after a couple of years of doing it, I was busy enough to where I could leave Boeing. And there was still a leap, right? It's still kind of a huge jump. And what was interesting is they had this voluntary layoff program that was originally intended for like older, near retirement age people. Yeah, they didn't expect me to take it. So I had a nice 6-month runway of health benefits paid for, good severance check. It's like, I'm out the door.
So how did that work? So they had, you said 6 months. They just, if you wanted to take a leave, they'll let you keep your job essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And for those who don't know, there actually is a union, engineering union at Boeing. And so they fight for things like this, where before they, make layoffs, there's sort of this in-between thing. The companies can offer a voluntary layoff. So they can perhaps reduce the amount of pink slips or, forced, if you will, layoffs. People that can elect to go earlier than they probably wanted to, but with this nice bonus of a severance increase, as well as a nice 6 months of what's called like COBRA, or, we have comparable insurance. And then that can get people off if they're on the way to Medicare. They can bridge the gap. So anyway, my boss was like, "What? You're taking that?"
So,
I'm doing.
So that was good. Yeah, because they probably didn't know about your side hustle at the time, right?
They did, but the thing is, like, Boeing corporate knew it because I'm going to law school at the time, part-time. So I'm following the rules as best I can. So Boeing corporate had signed off on the conflicts of interest waiver, but did my boss know that I was going to jump then? No.
Oh, so they knew you had clients already for this other job, like side hustle.
Yes.
So you were like, were you like supposed to tell them, or you just decided to tell them about that? Most people don't say anything about that because for obvious reasons. Like, I didn't say anything about it at my job.
Yeah. No, I don't think. I don't know if there was really any obligation to do it, and it wasn't like I just left. There was obviously a 2-week notice period, and kept the professionalism intact and didn't burn any bridges. But it was a cool opportunity in 2016 to make that jump. And we had the supportive family, and I had a baby at the time, at a 1.5-year-old, and our second just been born. My wife's, pretty nervous as well, but, so that's probably the most gut wrenching, work 12-hour days, 14+ hour days that I can think of. And, but it was we just made it out of necessity. You just got to figure it out. And, was in the office working, did a lot of content marketing, if you will. They just show up and teach a seminar, host them. I was at the Regis work area, and they have this is in Mount Lake Terrace, which is actually still where our headquarters are based in. And I was doing some, just weekly inventor chats where I would just host these seminars for free. People come in, I would bring donuts, and just started building up, local business owners that would kind of get to know who I am.
Interesting. So do you think, I've been slow on work, and I'm trying to figure out like the best way to, do I do Google ads? It sounds like, is this like in-person stuff the best like return on your time and money?
I'm going on memory lane on you, Scott. So right now, if we kind of fast forward to what I'm doing now that works, if that's what you want to know, Google ads is still there. Definitely paid advertising is a major, I would say 30% of our leads. The other probably 50% is all organic through our website, the SEO, just our massive amount of content and education on blogs and videos and YouTube. And then 20 to 25%, I would say, is in-person meetings or conferences. where I make B2B connections with other lawyers. For me, that's massive. Other business attorneys that don't do patent work. So finding that.
So it's like a referral. It's like a referral group.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still do. I mean, the speaking to like directly to it, inventors a handful of times a year. I do one at the local high school. It's almost like philanthropic, honestly, Scott. But I mean, there is some of that can be done at universities, incubators, accelerators. But I've done it so many times, and it's hard to draw a clear ROI out of some of those.
So it seems like you cut back on that nowadays for,
Yep.
What's the reasoning for cutting back so much?
Cutting back on in-person, well, obviously COVID, I had to kind of change styles pretty quick there. But, even though it's in a way available again, I have currently decided to carve in a niche, super niche, not only in patents, but within dental. And so I've decided to sort of pick one industry. And I personally to say, hey, I'm going to become the go-to patent attorney for all of dental and oral health.
What's interesting is I get a lot, well, I would say a lot, but I've done a lot of dental type projects myself. And it seems like these dentists have like so many ideas, ideas for whatever.
They're entrepreneurs.
They're
doctors and they're entrepreneurs. Usually they own their own clinics. And it's like, even if they're not, if this isn't like a dental idea, they've got other ideas, other business ideas, right? They want to make money. They want to grow their practice, add another practice. So we've helped a couple, dentists or one orthodontist with non-medical inventions, like related to golf, right? Just whatever they're up to on the side, because they're innovative. And so anyway, but I've gone to a few conferences now, and I'm part of a mastermind within dental. And so I'm going to be presenting to a conference here coming up in August down in New Orleans, and I'll probably do one in on a cruise. They do these continuing educational events on cruises. So I've got one coming up here in May, and then another one in late this year in October.
Oh, very nice. So what else you got for us? What's some other good information?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could go anywhere, but I'd like to know a little bit more about your audience. I mean, who are your target listeners? So I can kind of get a feel for who I'm speaking to.
Well, I wish I got more feedback, and then I could tell you. But from the people that have contacted me, it's definitely a mix of inventors and I think a lot of corporate engineers, and maybe they're entrepreneurial, maybe they're not, but they listen to the show. So it's not just necessarily all people that want to invent something, but there might be, I think there's a lot of engineers out there. I'm kind of a combo. That's why I started the show and named it as such, is that I've got a bunch of stuff I've invented and made, but I also still do a lot of engineering work just, as a service. And that's what I did, in the corporate world back when I was in that. So I would say that's the audience.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I would say, for someone who I think back to myself, and when you make a move, if you will, and you're going to take a risk, being an engineer, it's most likely going to be calculated, right? You're going to have a plan A and probably a plan B or C, and so it's just smart. You hear all about these kind of more emotional books, right? Burn the boats, only, don't have a backup plan. And no, that doesn't. That never was a good plan for me. I just couldn't sleep at night kind of thing. And maybe that's how most of your listeners are too. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at is, okay, well, if you're going to make it methodical and planned and strategic in terms of making it or having a run at it, just sort of classic advice is to rely on experts, rely on those that have experience and skills in a very specific niche. Like a lot of engineers probably have spent quite a few years or dedicated a lot of their life to learning about and, practicing one specific type of skill in an industry. Well, if you're going to pursue patent protection, even though you probably could, it's not going to be best for you to do it on your own. And even though it's tempting to go try to learn a new skill set and become adept at it, you're probably better served remaining focused on what you do best already, and focusing on the design or on the invention, and finding those that do what you don't do. and relying on them. And so having a professional attorney give you their opinion on, for example, patentability, how much of what you've invented here do we think we can get you patent rights on? Really, truly understanding that, sitting down with an attorney and appreciating what that means before taking the leap and filing or raising money on something or before launching a product. What's the risk of infringing someone else's product? Just being really mindful about that. And yet, not being blind, and then not being caught in this analysis paralysis, just be willing to hire someone who is also a professional. It's probably the biggest piece of advice I could give someone in that position.
Yeah, I mean, learning patent law and like trying to do it all yourself, like it's probably achievable, but it's like you can't be an expert in everything. And so it's like, do you really want to spend that much time and energy when you could be doing something that might be a bigger return on your time? Like as an engineer, always thinking about like maximum efficiency.
Yeah.
That being said, I do like to know a little bit about everything. So like I filed my own provisional patents before because that's pretty easy and definitely saved me money, because it's, as a micro entity, it's like, that's the only cost if you do it yourself. But if you pay someone else, obviously you got to pay for their time. So that's kind of like my philosophy on things. But yeah, like once I know a little bit about it, just basically enough to know that I'm not getting ripped off, then I'll tend to hire people because it's just not a good use of my time. Like I have virtual assistants that handle like a lot of marketing outreach and emails and stuff like that I could do. And I have done, because even like editing this podcast, I outsourced because it's just not the best use of my time, even though I know I can do it, because I'll get a much bigger return getting new clients or whatever, like working on different projects than just doing like these kind of tasks.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I don't want to, duke this out on air, but I will say filing your own provisional, while maybe cheap and easy, is the wrong way to go. You should not be doing that. Highly, highly against that. Most inventors, and you're the exception, do a really, really bad job when they put their own provisional together, because they think it's just this, it's informal, I can just submit it and I'll write about my invention and it's done. Problem is most of the time you end up writing about the invention and you probably are not thinking about other ways the invention could be built and the other embodiments and versions and applications of the invention that you're going to wish you had when you go back to
right. That's why you want to make it as broad as you can. But the thing about a provisional is it's not reviewed anyway, so it's like you just make the broadest possible claims you can think of, and then obviously once you get to actually filing it, that's when you're going to fight with the patent agent or whatever, the guy at the USPTO about not having it he's going to want to narrow it down. You're not going to, and that's the tug of war that you play, with the patent office.
Yeah, no, and this is good. I can tell you're confident, but let's go ahead and have this conversation, Scott. So a broad provisional, okay, broad written, that's not enough. It has to be enabled, meaning every way that the invention is functioning structurally and the way it functions must be described in the specification of the provisional.
Right, to have that priority date for sure. Yeah.
Yes. And so it is a very technical thing. And I think a lot of inventors, and so like yourself as well, think it's okay to file on your own and you're going to be good enough. And unfortunately, it's not true. So I'm here to say on your podcast, it is a
those. I mean, okay, and that's probably that's fine. I don't want to argue with you about it, but I mean, at that for those particular inventions, the reason I did it on top of the cost was also time. Like I really just wanted to get something out there so that I could go and like test the product, and I just didn't want. I mean, I probably could have found somebody like you quickly enough, but I just wanted to get to the point, So I wanted to start market testing it and things. So I figured it was better to have something in place, even if it was written on my own, than nothing. Before I started trying to.
Yeah, no, it is. This is good because I think you're not alone. There are a lot of inventors, a lot of entrepreneurs out there. Hey, I just want to get this out there. I want to get protected, and taking shortcuts is not the way to go. It is just not, because what will happen oftentimes, you'll have something written down. You think you're protected, and you get into discussions with a manufacturer or into a relationship with an investor, get down the road, and all of a sudden the invention looks nothing like what was written down in the provisional, and you end up kind of getting the cart before the horse. And if you don't do decent enough job on the drawings, you may not be able to claim priority back on a design, on the way that it's shaped. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing. One of my soapbox issues is folks think they can just draft something and just write something down and then hit the market and test stuff. It's not the right approach. It's not the right approach. It should be much more thoughtful about spending time on a patent application, especially provisionals. And patent search should be done first, so you know how to write, what to write about. And you can do that yourself. You should do a patent search yourself. I'm really big on this. I talk about this in my book. Obviously, you don't need to hire a professional to tell you if something's already right there on Google. But having some initial searching done, and the best, of course, would have an attorney do the search, give you an analysis on how broad of rights you can get. And the cool thing about that is it'll focus you on what to write in the provisional. Right? If you're writing about inventing a brand new ballpoint pen and you've got a new way of integrating the actual ball with the ink, okay? And you're not going to you shouldn't likely spend much time talking about, the cylindrical component of the part that you're holding on to. You should spend the majority of the time writing about what the novel aspects of this specific integration between the ball and the ink. As just as a really stupid example I'm thinking about right now. So anyway, this is a really good point. And I think not enough time is taken when you're in that kind of, oh my gosh, I just want to share this with somebody. I just want to get something down. That's where I would love to catch an inventor, is in that moment, to just coach them to take it easy, take a breath, and to get it done right instead of get it done quickly.
Yeah, you should always do it right once instead of wrong, 6 times or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's always very challenging to do. I've been there before where it's like you want answers right away when the market is hot or the timing is good. But there are ways to get that all done, and achieve it all, right? And still rely on the experts. So, if we want to, Scott, I could share my website where people could go to if they want to find some free information. I do give out a PDF copy of my book for those that schedule time with us to see if it's the right time for them to move forward.
Yeah. Let's. Do you have any more examples you want to talk about, or do you want to try to start wrapping up the show?
I could go on for a long time, but if you've got questions, I could go through it. Any example?
I don't know if you wanted to give an example of like a past project that obviously some stuff is under non-disclosures, I'm sure, but
yeah,
if you had a project you wanted to talk specifically about, just to give people maybe an idea of the process.
Let's see. One example comes up. A client of ours who is now patent granted, Christopher Hopkins, with Rivertech, TEC. He had a really cool story. I had him on my podcast a few weeks ago. And this whole notion of, hey, I just want to get my product licensed. I just want to go make money with my patent. He actually did it. And he explained in the podcast how to do it. And I'll kind of go through maybe just briefly his approach. Is he found out who the major manufacturer is for his specific product. And I'll just say his is for trolling, for fishing, right? When you do salmon fishing, there's this little flasher device that will basically catch the eye of the fish. And forever, they've just been these kind of cheap plastic, nylon, bent, and they've got these holographic kind of flashers on them, right? He's like, we can do better. Why not put a little enclosure and make it, have a little pocket? And he created one, integrated a little enclosure, and he stuffs tuna in there. So that's like scented and flashing. So he said it connects and gets more bites and is more successful with it. So he's created that, right? We protected it for him. He found a manufacturer that makes lures and products, and didn't just pound on the door and talk about his idea. He actually built it. He's an engineer, I believe, himself, and was able to fabricate it, built it, ready-made in the package, right? Final product, and mailed it to this company, right? And then pestered him. Hey, look at my product. I just sent this to you. Take a look. Open it up. And got a deal done that way. So sent a final packaged, ready to go product as if it were on the store shelf, and sent it to the manufacturer and showed them what exactly the thing could look like in a final form, and got a licensing deal. So he's in a lot of the major retailers now. I believe Walmart and Cabela's and a few others by now. But it's a cool story.
In that situation,
yeah.
Isn't it risky that they could have just taken it? He made it so easy for them to just to copy it and just do it on their own.
Exactly. I think that's what freezes a lot of inventors up, is they're afraid of infringement. And it was another big point, is that this should not be a fear at all. It should be a celebration. If anyone ever infringes your product, it's a huge win. And that means you've got someone who believes in your product too. And you probably there's a market demand for it. I have zero stories, in my 10 years of doing this for inventors and startups, where they've been swallowed up by a big infringer. Right? The big stories you think about and hear about. Never has it happened. So, I mean, there are things you can imagine, right? And there's vehicles to take care of that. For example, patent insurance. I've got a whole different segment on patent insurance, where if you get a policy for a few grand, it could cover you for litigation costs to defend your patent rights. But yeah, just taking that, I guess, very, very low risk and showing what it looks like. The company is willing to go to market with you on it.
That's a pretty cool story. Yeah, I know licenses are pretty tough to get. So it must have been obviously a good enough improvement to get their attention and have them do it.
Yeah, he lured him in. Terrible joke, but yeah, he's awesome. He's good, and it just sort of took that determination and making it happen. Anyway, lots of different stories I could share. But if you're okay with it, just if you're interested in following up, go to our website at boldip, boldip.com. And if you're interested in taking a step forward, schedule what we're calling a screening session to see if you're a good fit, if we're a good fit for you. And for doing that, you get a copy of my book, Bold Ideas: The Inventor's Guide to Patents. It goes through a lot of the same information I talked about with respect to patent searching, the application process, difference between patents and trademarks, patents and copyrights, and trade secrets as well.
All right, very cool. Well, I was going to ask for your contact info, but you've already given us that. So I guess that'll wrap up the show this week then.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, JD, thanks for coming on, and we'll catch everyone next time on the podcast.
All right. Thank you. See you, Scott.
See ya.